So start by cutting 2 pieces of pellin a little bit wider than your shoulders. And you want them to be long enough to go over your shoulder down to your waist, in both the front and the back. So then get some fake black leather, and you'll just lay that out on the floor with the shiny side down so that the cloth side is up. You want that to be long enough to go all the way over your shoulder to your mid-thigh. Then you lay the pellin on that, and you'll see it's longer than the pellin because you want it to be able to go to your mid-thigh. And then you'll just cut out around it, leaving an inch on both sides. Then you're just going to fold the edges up and hot glue them, and then the very edge you just fold over a little bit and hot glue that in place. Just like that. And so here it is all hot glued, and then the shiny part will be on the outside. So then I got some crinkly material, and it's much too light, so I'm going to dye it darker, but this is what it looks like to begin with. And it was not long enough to go down my arms, so I had to make the tunic a different way than the standard Jedi. So I laid it out on the ground, and I cut a piece that was long enough to go a few inches above my shoulders, down to my mid-thigh, and then a few inches wider. And I had it in 2 layers when I cut it, so then I just unfolded it, and then folded the sides into the middle, so it's still the same width, but there's a slice down the middle now. And then measure 3 inches across on one of those little pieces in the middle, and you're just going to cut that at an angle down to your waist. Just cut off basically a really long triangle, and then just use that piece to measure one exactly the same on the other side, cutting just the top layer. And then over on the side, over on one of the folds, you're going to measure down 9 inches and cut down the fold, and then do the same thing on the other side, 9 inches. And so because the sides are folded, you won't have to sew those, you'll just sew across the top of each shoulder. Leave the armholes open. And so then for the sleeves, you're going to cut piece that's 9 inches on the small end and 12 inches on the big end. You're going to cut 2 layers. And then you'll just sew those together along the 2 long sides, and then along the bottom there. Leave the 2 ends open. So then this is the tunic without the sleeves, and you'll sew the 9-inch side of each sleeve right onto the tunic. And so then around the middle open parts of the tunic, you're just going to take a piece of fabric and fold it around the open sides. You're going to go all the way up around and come down the other side, and then you'll just hem across the bottom. So here's the tunic and the black leather, and of course I haven't dyed the tunic yet, so it's still much too light, but I'm just showing you what it looks like. So then you'll just cut another piece to use as the obi, and you'll want to use some sticky back velcro to fasten that, but I'm not going to do that yet because I still have to dye it. So this is what it looks like so far. And so here it is once I've dyed it. I dyed it a little bit too dark. It ended up being almost black, but I guess I figured too dark was better than too light. So then you just put sticky back velcro on both ends, and then they'll just go around to meet each other. So there's your obi. And so for the belt, I took a thick belt and a thin belt. Got 2 belts, and this one I picked because the buckle is square. It looked very similar to Anakin's. And I'm just going to hot glue the thinner belt into the middle of the thicker belt. You want to make sure that the buckle is in the center of the belt. So for the food capsules, I just took some broken crayons and painted them gold and silver, just like that. And then I cut 2 pieces of foam in odd shapes and hot glued those together. And then for the pouches, I took some stacks of cardboard and then just hot glued some dark brown leather around them. You want to make sure that you leave some open space on the back of it, some cardboard, because the hot glue does not stick well to the fake leather, so you'll need the open cardboard to glue it onto the belt. So then take the other piece to use as a flap. Glue that onto the front, and then just glue that onto the back, and again make sure you leave some cardboard space open to glue it onto the belt. And so you'll end up making 3 of those. The other 2 will be longer ones. You'll just, exact same way, you'll just change the shape of it. So here's my 3 pouches with the cardboard. And then here is everything once I've got it all glued onto the belt. The pouches and the food capsules and the second belt. Everything all the way across. And so then I just got a pair of brown pants. They have a little bit of pistachio at the top, but that'll be hidden by the tunic anyway. And then I just got a brown turtleneck to wear under the black tunic. And then just a pair of boots. These are a little bit too light, but they worked pretty well, so I used them. And so then here is what the full costume looks like. You underestimate my height.